不好意思，那个到时候马上这样打不到的，这样刚刚画好几次，不好意思。啊，右边这个，右边这个画，谢谢。
Should we take out the mask?
Hello.
各位女士、各位先生、各位媒体的朋友，欢迎大家来到欧洲议会外来势力干预欧盟民主程序含假讯息的特别委员会的官方代表团的国际记者会 INGE。Ladies and gentlemen, friends of the press, welcome to the International Press Conference for the European Parliament Special Committee of Foreign Interference in all democratic processes in the European Union, including disinformation, INGE. This is the first ever visit to Taiwan as an official delegation from the European Parliament. I'm going to introduce each one of them so we can all get to know them. And then we're having the chairman of the group to say a few words, and then we'll take up to your questions. So allow me to make a first quick introduction to each one of the delegation. Is that okay, right? We will have first, of course, the president of the special committee. We have the Honorable Raphael Glucksmann, and he's from France. And he's a, yes. Thank you very much. Okay, and then we have the Honorable Andrius Kubilius. He was 2 times former Prime Minister of Lithuania. 立陶宛的前2度的总理哦，刚刚介绍那个古勒斯是法国的我们的团长。接下来我们有 the Honorable Margita Gregorova. She is from the Czech Republic and member of the European Parliament. 来自捷克的葛瑞若议员。接下来我们有这个 the Honorable Andreas Schreiber. He is from the Austria. He's member of European Parliament. 我们有来自奥地利的施义德议员。And then we also have the Honorable Petras Ostrevičius. He is from also Lithuania, member of European Parliament. 来自立陶宛的奥佛斯议员。And then we have the Honorable Georgios Kirtsos, and he's from the Greece. Yes, 提球议员他是希腊来的。And then we have the Honorable Marcos Drezzo. He is from Italy. 来自意大利的德西欧议员。We also have other members of the delegation. They're also here joining with us. And thank you very much. Also introducing some VIPs. we have here Kendra Chen， 我们欧洲司的这个欧洲司副司长陈永韶陈副司长 Kendra Chen, Deputy Director, European Affairs from Foreign Ministry. Okay, now let's invite the chairman of the delegation, the president of the special committee, the Honorable Raphael Gossman, for his remarks.
Hello to everybody. How shall we proceed? I speak and you translate, or
you can speak the whole speech, and then we have a translator there.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm very happy in the name of the whole delegation to meet the Taiwanese press, because we were told how vibrant and how strong the press is in this country. So it's a great honor to be with you today. As you know, our visit is the first official visit of a delegation of the European Parliament to Taiwan. So it's a very important moment for us in the European Parliament to be here, and it's a great honor and a fantastic pleasure. It shows how important Taiwan has become in the European discussion and in the European agenda. For the citizens we are representing, you are embodying freedom and democracy. Taiwan actually is today one of the most vivid, if not the most vivid, democracy in the region. It's a treasure, sincerely, that all democrats around the world should cherish and protect. So we came here, and I told it to your president, we came here with a very simple message. Taiwan is not alone. We came here to say how much Europe is convinced that Taiwanese democracy is crucial to its core principles, the European principles of democracy, but also to the European long-term interest. Our delegation represents very different political groups with different visions of the world, of economy, of environment, of society, but all of these political groups are united in the support for Taiwanese democracy. And that's also a very important message, that support to Taiwan is consensual in the European Parliament. We have a consensus. And in a recent resolution, the European Parliament has almost broken its record for overwhelming majority supporting the Taiwan report of the European Parliament. And this report is very clear. We recognize Taiwan as a key like-minded partner and democratic ally. And we encourage, I quote, increased economic, scientific, cultural, political, and people-to-people exchanges, meetings, and cooperation between the EU and Taiwan, including at the most senior levels. So our visit should be put in this context. It's a first step that should announce other steps. And we came here to support this cooperation also for very selfish reasons. We came here to learn from Taiwan. We came here because when we have set up this committee on foreign interference, one thing was clear from the very start. Taiwan is an example on how to fight foreign interference in a democratic manner. Actually, the way you have managed to build your democracy in Taiwan while facing such a level of interference, disinformation campaign, and malicious pressure is an example for us. So we came here to learn, and all our visits was a succession of meetings with actors coming from civil society or government fighting against foreign interference. So, as you know, we in Europe are also facing such kind of interferences, and we really believe that we can learn from your expertise, your experience, and from the fact that you managed to fight interference while opening yourself more and more with the citizens' participation to this struggle. So the success of Taiwanese method in confronting the threats of foreign interference and disinformation is like a gold mine for us. So you should consider us as friends, but also as people who came to learn and to bring back to Europe the secret of your success. Our visit was really a great success. It announces other visits. We are all convinced of that. And we were so happy to breathe the fresh air of democracy in this region. And it's for that that we have to thank the Taiwanese people for their commitment to the values we share: freedom, democracy, human dignity. And in fighting for these values, you will never find yourself alone, because you will always find European allies in this struggle. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very touching and very important remarks from the chairman of the group. And we have translations for that. 我们翻译一下，谢谢。
大家好，我非常高兴能够带领这个特别委员会的代表团来见台湾的媒体。我被告知说，台湾其实在这个地区当中，媒体数一数二，非常的活跃，也非常的强大的。因此，能够今天见到各位台湾的媒体朋友，我感到十分荣幸。就如各位所知，我们这一次是第一次欧洲议会有官方的代表团来到台湾。那我们这一次的访问非常的重要，因为我们本身也认为我们必须要有官方的代表团来到台湾。因为呢，台湾的议题在我们欧盟呢，基本上都在我们各个体制当中，以及我们的许多的政治的规划当中，其实台湾都占有非常重要的角色，而且台湾又代表着自由与民主的价值。那台湾本身其实也是在这个地区，要不是说是最繁荣的民主之一，不然就是最繁荣的民主本身。那其实全世界所有的民主人士都必须应该要去珍惜并且保护台湾的民主。我此次来访也见到了蔡英文总统，也告诉总统说台湾并不孤单，因为我们欧洲认为台湾其实在民主的世界非常的重要，而且保护台湾也符合欧洲的利益。那我这一次的率领的代表团当中，有许多来自不同党派的人士，他们在经济、在社会、在环境等不同的面向都各持不同的意见。但这一次，我们撇开我们各自的歧见，团结一致，来一起坚守民主，而保护台湾就是我们共同的共识。那事实上，我们也都知道，在欧洲议会，我们有大多数压倒性的支持的票来支持台湾，有这样子的大多数的压倒性同意票，也因此这样子的一个举动，也等于是发送了非常非常清楚的讯号，那就是台湾对欧洲来讲是一个非常关键、理念相近的伙伴，而且也是我们的盟友。我们台湾跟欧盟之间，无论是在科学、技术还是企业等不同的面向，都必须要扩大深化合作。那我们这一次的访问呢，基本上必须要这样子看待，就是说我们这次踏出的第一步，但是往后还会有非常非常多更多的步要去踏。那我们这一次也是除了要跟台湾合作之外，要进一步深化之外，其实我们自己也很私心的想要从台湾身上学到很多事情，要取经。那我们必须说，我们 ING 特别委员会当初在成立之初，也就已经非常的明确的认为，台湾就是我们打击假讯息以及打击外部干预的这样子的工作，台湾是一个典范。因此，我们也都知道，我们也都看到了，台湾在这么多的假讯息干扰以及恶意打压的情况下，还可以成功的打造出这么成功的民主，至关重要。因此，我们这一次的访问也有非常非常多一场接着一场的会面，不外乎就是跟政府的各部会以及公民团体去做非常多的讨论。那因为我们欧盟自己本身也面临着许多的外部干扰以及假讯息攻击，因此我们认为我们必须来台湾取经，因为台湾在同时对抗这么多假讯息跟干预的同时，还能够进一步去开放台湾的民主，开放更多的公民参与台湾的政治。因此对我们来说，台湾简直就是一座宝山，必须要来真的好好的来挖宝。所以呢，各位不妨视我们为台湾的朋友，以及向台湾取经的学生。那我非常高兴能够在台湾这片土地上面还能够去呼吸非常民主的新鲜空气，也非常感谢台湾人这么的投入到你们的民主、你们的自由以及人民尊严这件事情上面。必须告诉台湾各位并不孤单，你们永远都会有欧洲的盟友，因为我们其实也在同样的处境当中。
Thank you very much for the kind words. Okay, if that's okay, we proceed with Q&A. I have 8 pages of questions from all of you, so is it okay we do by group? 我们现在大家很多问题，所以我们就是分类，好吧？就像我们平常做的，有5大类，所以我先汇集几大类哈。Let's do by group. We'll take the first group of the purpose of the visit and Taiwan-EU cooperation in combating disinformation and foreign interferences. If that's okay, in order to save time, I'm going to read out the questions from you. Okay? So if I'm missing something else from this category, then you can raise your hand and let me know if there's other additional questions you want to ask within this category. Disinformation and foreign interference. First, purpose of the visit, that's from TBBS. Then from Fang Yan, Taiwan is asking how is Taiwan doing in their views combating China's hostility in means of legislation, policy, or education. Okay, from Hua Shi is asking the observations the delegates had about how Taiwan is combating disinformation. 华是在问我这个贵宾对于台湾遭受假讯息攻击的了解哦，对于台湾假讯息我们这个防治有什么样的观察 ？From Taiwan News, Kevin, they are asking some major takeaways from your discussions with Taiwanese counterparts on combating disinformation. From Taipei Times, following the visit to Taiwan, will the EU and Taiwan launch any joint projects in combating disinformation together? From 静电视 Mirror TV, they're asking what particular issues had been discussed. 有没有特别的具体合作可以分享的 From AP American Press, then can please elaborate on the interests that is helping Taiwan to combat foreign interferences and fake news. From Taiwan Plus, James Carter, about the unprecedented threat posed by disinformation in the region, and will Europe be taking more involved approach countering disinformation? How likely is implementing within Europe the recommendations they just made? And how receptive was European executive being to this visit? And the likelihood of when they are coming back again to visit Taiwan. That's good. And then we also from Dajun, a lot of questions. Well, that's very good. The scope of this information is in Taiwan. What impressed the delegate the most in Taiwan's strategies against the countering the disinformation? Okay, so these are all the groups. Do you have any other questions regarding this group? 好，大家问题差不多这个嘛，对不对？好，假讯息跟这个外来势力干预，这样的 OK 吗？好 ，then so we would like to invite the chairman, Mr. Glassman, to respond. Thank you.
Well, you had so many questions, but as a major takeaway, what we can say is that your whole of society approach, the approach that was developed in Taiwan, is absolutely crucial for us. We met with government officials, and the way the fight against disinformation and interferences was treated from a transversal perspective, implying every single institution body is really important for us, because we should not work in silos, as we say. But we also met with a representative of NGOs and think tanks, and the idea of the whole society being involved in this fight is crucial for us. And when this morning we met with your minister, Audrey Tang, it was really fascinating to get into the depths of Taiwan's fight against disinformation on, for instance, the social network and the platform. Because even as a European, I was sometimes wondering, my God, is it possible? Is it really possible? Because the natural tendency when you are confronted with the threat of interference is to close your society, is to act with severity and seriousness in defense, which we have to do, but as a result to forget about how lively a democracy should be. And what happened here is that actually there is more and more participatory democracy, participative democracy, and that's the way, by involving the citizens in the process of lawmaking, of reforms, that's the way you actually make your society resilient against disinformation campaign and interference threats. So the response of more democracy instead of less democracy is actually the right response. And I think that's that's something we need to bring back to our committee, and we are in the process now of drafting our report and discussing our report, and it will be voted in January and then in March. And the Taiwanese experience will be very, very useful for us. And also to showcase to our executive branches that it can actually work, that our solution, even the ones that we were thinking about before coming, we saw them working. And that's always very important. And that's why I always say that, yes, Taiwan is in need for support, but the true great friendships, they are built on shared principles, on altruistic ambitions, but also on mutual benefits, yes? And I think that we can benefit a lot as Europeans from a closer cooperation with Taiwan in the fight against disinformation. So for instance, the EU is actually thinking now about a hub on disinformation, and we, I think, all agree that this hub should be Taiwan. And that will make a lot of sense. And I think that this partnership should go on and get deeper and deeper. But I will, since I learned from you democracy, I will also learn how to give the floor to the other members and respond about their takeaway, because it's not a one-man show. So Prime Minister Kubilius is...
Shall we have the translation, please? And then we invite in the Prime Minister. Yes, 我们先翻译，然后等一下请立陶宛的前总理来帮我们讲话。来，这样好麻烦。Yes.
I always forget about translation. So.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
好的，我们这一次最主要的心得就是说，其实台湾有非常多。比如说全民一起来共同对抗假讯息以及外来干预的这些方法等等，那其实对我们来说都非常的重要，因为我们的处境其实非常的类似，然后再加上看到台湾其实有全民共同去对抗这样的事情，所以我觉得其实这是一个很棒的事情，就是说我们在我们自己的欧洲的内部其实本身也是不能晋升的，必须要积极的有作为。那我们这一次来访，其实我们也会见的不只是有非常多的政府官员，甚至还有很多智库的学者。还有 NGO 的人士等等，然后又发现说，其实台湾真的是全民一起在非常团结在对抗假讯息，而且稍早我也见到了唐凤政委，跟他非常深入的了解台湾是怎么样去如何在网络平台以及网络社群媒体上面怎么样去对抗假讯息的，非常非常的深入，非常非常的具体。那因为在这之前，我常常作为一个欧洲人会去反思说，这一切到底做不做得到，到底可不可行？但是因为我们知道说，当人们面对干预跟攻击的时候，通常我们的反应就是会关起门来，会保持沉默。可是这样子久了，就会忘记我们实际上民主跟自由是什么样的感觉。可是台湾反过来，就是只是在面对更多的打压跟面对更多的攻击的时候，反而台湾提升了参与式民主，有越来越多人投入到无论是立法的过程还是改革的过程当中。其实越多人参与民主，反而就增加了台湾社会整体面对威胁跟干预的韧性。所以其实虽然说我们很多人自然而然会关起门来会晋升，减少了民主，但其实真正要解决干预跟假讯息攻击。真正的解决方法反而是增加民主才对，而不是减少民主。所以我会把这样子的一个心得带回到我们欧洲议会去。像我们接下来到明年3月写的报告当中，台湾的经验就是非常非常有用、实用的内容，一定会写进报告。甚至这样子的经验都还可以呈现给我们欧洲的行政部门看，告诉行政部门说，台湾有可行的例子，我们其实欧洲也是可行的。那其实对台湾来说，当然台湾需要我们欧洲的支持，但是我觉得所有的真友谊、真朋友，就是我们不只是互相支持，我们还有共同的价值。所以我在想，我们欧盟其实也正在考虑说，到底要在哪里设立所谓的对抗假讯息的所谓的中心 hub。那我们其实也都蛮同意，其实台湾作为一个假讯息对抗的中心，算是蛮合理的一个选项。那我们会持续的往这样子的一个议题持续的深入继续研议下去。
Thank you very much. We have the Prime Minister, 来，立陶宛的前总理。Yes.
Well, thanks a lot. Really, our chairman said a lot of, explained why we came here and what we learned. And I would say, really, I would be happy to come back as soon as possible. Still, there are a lot of things which I would like to learn even more deeply. But also, I would say that other committees from European Parliament. I am pretty sure they will also come here, as also national parliaments delegations from EU member states will come. really, you know, there are a lot of things which we can learn from Taiwanese democracy. If while coming here, you know, I knew that, you know, we can learn from Taiwan, you know, which is leader in global, you know, economical development on semiconductors, you know, industries. So now I'm coming back that really we need to learn also from Taiwanese democracy, which is also, I would say, is leading globally, you know, in a lot of very important fields. And first of all, really, how to defend democracy against foreign interference. I am coming from Lithuania, where we are facing very similar threats, for example, from authoritarian Russia, from authoritarian Kremlin regime. When we listen what kind of, you know, interferences you are facing from mainland China, for me it looked like that, you know, it's very similar. So there are lots of things which we really can learn, where we can share our experiences, and that is why during our conversations with members of your parliament, we agreed that it would be good to establish some kind of informal forum, what we call, you know, annual dialogue, Taiwanese European annual dialogue on defense of democracy and development of democracy. That is what we can, you know, do informally, first of all, and which will be, you know, very beneficial for both sides and especially for us in Europe.
Very important. Thank you so much, Prime Minister. 来，我们请江老帮我们翻译。
我当然知道说在台湾可以学到很多，甚至我希望说以后还可以继续回来再更深入的学习，因为基本上身为欧盟的议员、欧洲议会的议员，其实我是很想要再回来的。那其实我们在这边学到了很多，尤其是从台湾的民主上学到非常多事情。那我在来之前，我本来就知道台湾就是一座宝山，可以学到很多，因为毕竟台湾是全球半导体的领袖。但现在既然来了，然后也经历了这一切，我发现不只是我刚刚讲的，就是台湾的科技、台湾的半导体，其实台湾在民主方面有非常多其他的领域也都是领先全球的。那像这一次就是说要怎么样去守护民主这件事情，台湾就是一个领袖。我来自立陶宛，立陶宛就跟台湾面对中国打压一样，其实立陶宛也是面对的俄国等其他威权主义国家的干扰、干预。那我相信呢，就是不只是来学习取经，其实也是可以来多分享。像立陶宛自己面对俄罗斯的经验，也是可以向台湾分享的。那前阵子我也是跟台湾的立法委员有一段对话，然后我们也认为说应该要有所谓非正式的所谓年度对话。那年度对话的主轴不外乎就是民主的发展跟民主的守护。
Margareta, perhaps?
Yes, thank you very much. My colleagues already covered a lot, so I will focus on just two parts of the questions that you pose, and thank you for that. One is the biggest outtake, because, and as Mr. Glucksmann already mentioned, we are really here to learn, especially in this part of questions. There is not much that I can tell, you know, that we could give you, even though that will be the second part, but what we learned. And I think that one of the biggest outtakes is the trust building that is happening here, because we call it a resilient society. If the society doesn't believe in the disinformation and actually trusts and believes in their government and in their officials, then it's much easier to secure democracy and its grounds. So we really liked to hear about how you are building the trust of citizens. And the second part, one of the questions was regarding what we as the EU can do in order to help with your combating disinformation, mostly from China. And I think that what we can bring to the table, and we discussed it with the officials, is talks with the biggest social media outlets such as Facebook or Google, etc. Because we are also 27 member states, not just one country. We are the European Union, the biggest trade bloc in the world, and therefore we can also help set standards of regulation of these social media so that they are not the only ones who are making the rules. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great. Translation from Zhao, please.
刚刚我的同僚們都已經講過非常多了，所以我能補充的有限。但是我要補充2點。第一點就是誠如剛剛古斯曼主席說過的一樣，在台灣真的可以學到很多，主要是學習怎麼樣去建立信任，然後打造一個所謂的韌性社會。因為所謂的韌性社會就是當一個社會裡面的群體不相信假訊息，而是相信政府跟相信官員的時候，那就能夠去守護民主，讓民主更加安全。所以我們也是希望說能夠學習台灣怎麼樣在政府跟公民之間形塑一個信賴關係。再來第2點就是歐盟還可以做些什麼來因應中國來自中國的假訊息。那當然我們也跟台灣這邊的許多的官員都有深度的討論，然後也知道說必須要跟很多社群媒體，像是臉書或谷歌這些等業主去進行對話。畢竟我們自己本身歐盟不是單一國家，而是27個國家所形成的一個聯盟。那當然我們也不能夠讓社群媒體完全就是自己去制定他們的規則，我們也必須要去規範他們，然後跟他們進行進一步的討論。
Thank you very much. Next we have MEP Strider from Austria. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Andreas Schieder from Austria. I think democracy is extremely vulnerable to external threat and disinformation and foreign interference. On the other side, democracies, also this is what democracies makes it strong. So therefore, I think we came here and we learned that in Taiwan there had been very strong implementation. There had been the classical steps, recognizing the problem, making a plan, creating institutions, involving the private sector and the civil society, and to have a strategic plan how to deal with it. And this is already a very successful model, because as soon as you make it also public, it means that disinformation attacks are not as strong as they were planned to be. So I think this is extremely important. Secondly, we also understood that especially in times of COVID, how vulnerable our society in generally are. Also, we see a lot of disinformation linked with COVID, but what also we learned is that especially Taiwan adopted a COVID strategy in a democratic, open, inclusive manner, which is also very successful, and I think therefore we need to cooperate also on this. And thirdly, as also the gentleman and the colleague were saying before, also in investment and in trade cooperation, especially semiconductors, also we learned that for a European perspective, a broader cooperation with other countries like Taiwan is extremely useful, and this will be future steps.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. That's wonderful. Okay, we need translation. Thank you.
其实我们民主因为假讯息的攻击以及外部势力的干扰，其实我们极其脆弱，但是同时也是极其的坚强的。那其实从台湾就是一个很好的例子，台湾也是采取了许多非常强而有力的步骤，像是制定法规、采取行动、做好规划，并且与公民沟通等，其实都做得非常的成功。台湾着实是非常成功的一个模型。一个模式，那有了成功的模式的话，那么外来的攻击就自然会被削弱了。再来第2点，就是尤其在疫情时代当中，其实社会是更加的脆弱的，因为满天都是疫情相关的假讯息。但是台湾有成功的民主防疫，因此我们不但向来台湾这边取经，民主防疫也是我们欧洲跟台湾之间必须合作的范围之一。当然也不只是民主防疫，其实无论是投资还是贸易方面的合作，其实也是我们台欧之间接下来有许多的更深化的步骤要走，包括半导体。
Thank you very much. And also next we have the Honorable Petros Ostrovicius, also from Lithuania, would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Madam. Good afternoon to everybody, and I can tell you that we've been all overtaken by friendly and very collegial approach from the Taiwanese authorities once we landed here in Taipei. And it shows that both sides see a lot of interest and possibilities and need for multilateral, multi-sectorial cooperation. Coming to disinformation. You know, democracies still fall behind. Disinformation flow means players, methods applied against us. Why it's done? Because somebody, and we know whom, want to weaken democratic societies to influence political thinking and decision-making. It's simply unacceptable. And democracies have to come together. That's why we came to Taiwan, to learn, to exchange, and probably to strengthen our common tools to fight disinformation. And I can tell you, I see disinformation as a kind of pandemia of information flow. And if we don't stop, if we don't invent, drugs against that, and we do not understand what we do and what kind of the threat we're facing with, so we will be doomed for many, many years to come. So that's why it's so important, to call things as they are, to ask those responsible to stop and to deter their actions. And I see a lot of potential for our bilateral cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you. That's so important what the Honorable just said. Okay, some translation, please.
好的，那其实我们从降落到一路到现在，其实我们在台湾官方的热情款待之下，我也是感受到非常多的热情跟友谊。那也看得到双方其实有非常高度的兴趣，同时也认为可能甚至必须台欧双方必须要有多方甚至多产业的合作。那在假讯息方面，我们都知道这些攻击者他们是百攻不逆、百攻不厌的，因为总是有人好像就是不看到我们的民主被弱化，就心有不甘。所以呢，我们这些民主国家一定要团结起来。这也是我们这次来到台湾的目的，就是要跟台湾交流，跟台湾取经，甚至呢跟台湾一起来强化所谓的反制假讯息攻击的工具。那假讯息就犹如讯息的疫情，如果我们面对这股疫情没有开发出疫苗的话，那我们就不知何年何月才会走出这个讯息的疫情了。那么因此我们当然一方面必须要想办法让这些攻击者去制止他们，去嚇阻他们。那此一同时，我们也必须跟台湾进行双边的合作。
Thank you very much. I know the Honorable Marco Drozzo from Italy. He also wants to respond. Thank you.
On behalf of my group, I thank the Taiwanese government for their welcome. Taiwan is a crucial scenario not only from a geopolitical point of view and on the international stage, but also to understand how to defy cyber attacks, interference and propaganda action that we're also suffering from in Europe and in Italy. As a member of INGE, the visit will be of extreme importance for the whole EU to learn Taiwan best practice. Between democracy and authoritarian regimes, Europe must know which side to be on and must show freedom over communism. Thank you.
Grazie, Honorable. Yes, please, translation.
非常感谢台湾政府热情的款待跟欢迎。那其实台湾来讲，是在国际的舞台上面，算是在政治上非常非常重要的一个伙伴。而且在台湾，其实面对假讯息，甚至还有中国的文攻武吓等许多的经验，都是我们可以带回欧盟，甚至带回意大利的。那此次来访，也就是要特别来针对台湾这方面的经验跟台湾的作为，去予以取经，予以学习。
Continue. Yes. Done. All right. So we spent a great discussion on the first category. 然后我还有好多题目 So let me to combine these questions on different categories. We do next Taiwan-European relations, European and Taiwan Strait situation. We all do together. Let me read the questions for you. Okay. From also TBBS, we have EU-Taiwan relationship. Also from Niandai, I have the EU is preparing to upgrade relations with Taiwan. What aspect will be prioritized? And what are the concrete steps, if any? And also from the EU and Taiwan Strait situation, I have from AFP, from France, Agence France Presse, from 法新社. What can the international community to do in order to help ease the rising tensions across the Taiwan Strait? Also from Niandai, regard to the visit of Taiwan, is the delegation concerned about sanctions or pressures from China? Also, I have from Kyoto News, 共同社淑玲 here, asking about even how to, there are some countries even to disregard China protests by visiting Taiwan. The delegation is the first official delegation from European Parliament. And why is the delegation willing to risk China protests and possible retaliation by visiting Taiwan? Why China is acting as such? Okay, so do we have any other questions within this category, or we covering more or less everything? Yeah, we cover everything. Okay, we'll let them to answer. Thank you. For this category, anyone to answer? Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Wow, lots of questions once again. On the next steps for EU-Taiwan relations, I would really like you to refer to the text we have all voted in the Parliament, and it was asking for concrete improvement in the EU-Taiwan relation. Starting with two things, for instance, the beginning of discussions and negotiation on the bilateral investment agreement, that will be very useful. And the second is the question of the name of the EU presence here. And the Parliament has a very clear position on that. It should be the EU office in Taiwan, and that's what we voted. So you have very concrete steps that can be moved forward. But in a more general perspective, we are really convinced that the more you have interaction between international community and Taiwan, the less dangerous the situation will be in the Strait. It's not a provocation to come to Taiwan. It should be normal. And this is a message we are sending. We don't think that actually every time there is a high-level meeting with Taiwanese official, it's adding oil on fire. We think it's the contrary. The more we show we care about our relationship with Taiwan, the less chance you have to enter into a conflict in Beijing. And this is really the message we want to pass to our executive branches, to our member states, to everybody in Europe, is that the more you interact with Taiwan, the further you get from a war situation. Because the more you send the signal that it will have a cost to do anything outrageous against Taiwanese democracy. So the isolation would fuel the conflict. On the contrary, integration of Taiwan into our debate is actually diffusing the deep concerns about security in the Strait. So, on the question whether we are afraid or not about sanctions, well, actually, I would have trouble to be afraid about sanctions because I am personally under sanction by the Chinese regime. So, I don't know, but I don't think that anybody of us is afraid about any form of sanction. And let me be very clear. We are representative of the European citizens. We shape our policy and we make our decision based on two things. The interest of the European citizens. Dot. Second, the principles on which European Union is built. We don't make our decision thinking what would be the reaction in any other third country, what would be the reaction in Beijing. We make our decision based on our interest as European citizens and on our principles, which are, believe it or not, democracy, freedom, human dignity. So we don't want to provoke anybody. And it should not be perceived as a provocation to come to Taiwan and to speak between democracies about how we defend our democracies. And this is very clear. And the message is quite strong, but we are, in Europe, the first, as Marketa mentioned, we are the #1 market in the world. We are a global power. We are the biggest trade power in the world. So we should not be afraid about anything. We are actually strong, and we can decide what we do and how we do it. And we won't do anything to provoke any other bodies, any other power, but we won't do things because we are afraid about provocation, letters, or sanctions. And that has to be very clear. And as Democrats, we interact with our democratic friends in Taiwan, regardless about what authoritarian regimes think about it or not.
That's an excellent point, Mr. Chairman. Wonderful. We need translation. Thank you.
我们欧盟跟台湾的下一步，大概就像是你们可以去参考说，我们其实之前在欧洲议会当中所写的这些内容，就是说我们一定要深化欧盟跟台湾之间的关系。那这样子的深化的工作，基本上从2件事情开始。首先，第一个就是欧台之间的双边投资协定，如果能够谈出来，那自然非常的实用。再来就是我们欧盟驻台的管处的名字的问题，就是希望说可以从 EETO 改名叫做 EU Office in Taiwan， 我觉得欧盟驻台湾代表处。那这些都是很具体的步骤。但是如果从一般性的角度来看的话，基本上就是说，如果国际社会跟台湾之间互动的更多的话，其实反而台海是更安全的，它就更加的不危险，因为我们其实跟台湾之间的互动并不是什么挑衅北京的行为，而只是一个单纯正常的行为。我们其实这样子的讯号已经发出来，明确的发出来了。那我们并不认为任何国家的高层访问台湾是在火上添油，反而是一件相反的事情，就是说，当各个国家对台湾释出更多的关怀，那台湾跟北京之间冲突的几率反而都是降低的。那这也是为什么我们希望说把这样子的一个想法跟一个事实呢，能够传达给我们的各个会员国，还有我们欧盟的行政部门，甚至整个欧洲，希望说能够提升跟台湾之间的互动，然后让战争的风险进一步降低。所谓战争的风险，反而孤立台湾才是助长这种风险。那我们也希望说能够把台湾的议题纳入我们更多的讨论，能够整合到我们的讨论里面。那这样子做法反而是增加台海的安全。所以因为我知道有记者问主席说，就是对中国制裁的看法，基本上主席已经被中国制裁过了，所以接下来的制裁他可能没有什么太多的想法。但是基本上在座的所有的代表团的成员，基本上并不会去对形塑欧盟自己的政策，以及做欧盟自己的决定。那基本上这些决定跟政策，他们的基础就是2件事情。一件事情就是欧盟公民的利益，再来另外一件事就是欧盟最基础的原则，也就是自由、民主跟人民尊严的原则。而且这些政策以及决策就是这2件事情作为基础，而不是说去考量到其他国家有什么样的反应。所以并没有任何所谓的挑衅，只是单纯想要做欧盟作为民主的实体，跟台湾之间要有更多民主之间的互动而已。那这样子的讯号基本上已经非常明确，也非常的强烈了。那正如刚刚另外一位议员所说的一样，就是说欧盟是一个非常庞大的市场，也是全世界最大的贸易联盟，所以基本上欧盟是有权利自己做自己的决定的，任何的决定都不是主动挑衅，也不会因为害怕任何国家有什么样的反应而不敢有任何的动作。那这些动作当然包括了跟台湾的相互互动。
Thank you very much. I know the Honorable Georgios Kirtsos from Greece. He would like to respond.
Thank you. First of all, hello to everybody, because I was 35 years in my professional life a journalist and a publisher, and I know how demanding your profession is. I think that we are not provoking anybody. And we are not anti-China, we are pro-Taiwan. This is the way we address the situation. And we have a great interest on what is going on in your country for various reasons. First of all, your economy has developed. You are one of the protagonists of the the so-called digital transition, which is one of the objectives of the European Union. we have more of digital tradition, but we need the digital transition. So we want to learn from your economic experience, and we consider you a very successful country in economic terms. Also, according to our analysis, your strategic importance has been strengthened in the sense that you are in a region that, for various reasons that I'm not in a position to analyze because it will take a lot of time, has more importance than it used to have. Finally, we want to learn from what you did against fake news and intervention, because we face similar problems, internal and external, because fake news, as you are journalists, you know, are part of everyday life. So since we want to become more effective in combating fake news on all subjects, take for example COVID-19, I think we can learn a lot from your experience. Summarizing, I have to tell you that our presence here is the beginning of an exciting relation. Thank you.
Great, thank you so very much. Very important. We have some translation for that. Thank you.
我自己本身从政之外，也本身也有非常久的当记者的经验，所以我也知道记者朋友们都很辛苦。那当然，我们这一次不是要去挑衅任何人，我们也不是反中，我们只是友台。那我们对台湾有感到非常高度的兴趣，当然原因很多。首先，第一个就是台湾的经济发展的非常的繁荣，而且再加上台湾本身有很成功的数位转型，这也都是欧盟非常关切的议题，也希望说能够向台湾取得许多经济发展的经验。那而且我们自己的政治分析也认为，台湾的无论在战略的位置上，或者是战略的重要性上面，基本上都是比过往还要高的。那再来最重点就是要向台湾取经，如何去打击假讯息的干扰，因为我们其实我们其实本身有面临相同的问题，那假讯息也是深植在我们日常的生活当中。那当然，我们也希望说能够更有效的去打击各种主题的假讯息，当然包括了疫情的假讯息。那这一切基本上都可以从台湾身上学到非常多。这一次来访算是第一次，但是未来还会有很多次。
Thank you very much. I know Prime Minister Kibos would like to respond.
Well, I would like just to make one small comment on question which was raised about what does it mean, one sentence in the European Parliament report on a recommendation to upgrade relationship with Taiwan. So I can tell you example from Lithuanian recent developments. Our government, as you know, decided to open Lithuanian representation office in Taiwan, and also Taiwanese representation office in Lithuania. So it will happen soon. We are facing some kind of Chinese pressure, but we shall not change our decision. Well, I can tell that this is wrong Chinese reaction to our decision. We are getting a lot of support, including also sentences in European Parliament report on relations with Taiwanese, where support to Lithuanian decision was very clear. And for us, some kind of such pressure is nothing new, because while we are living next to authoritarian Russia, so we are quite accustomed to some kind of those pressures.
Thank you, wonderful. Prime Minister, thank you so much. We need translation for that.
好，这边只要稍稍补充一点，就是说，因为我们之前的欧盟本身也刚通过了一个跟台湾关系跟合作相关的报告，那其实这个报告本身，也就是一个很好的例子哈。那当然，本身我们立陶宛国内也有最新的一些发展，就是立陶宛，我们也都知道，立陶宛政府基本上也都已经认定了，就是说很快的，台湾跟立陶宛之间就会互设代表处。那其实此举，我们立陶宛面临了非常庞大的中国的压力。但是，即便有这份压力，我们立陶宛也不会去改变我们的决定哦。那只是说中国这样子的反应，算是中方自己错了。 那基本上我们像这样子跟台湾之间深化交流，也获得了各方的支持。那当然这份支持也包括了欧盟的友台报告。那我们其实立陶宛处境跟台湾真的十分类似，我们也是比邻一个大国，一个独裁的大国，就是像俄罗斯这样的国家，也有很多的相关的假讯息攻击。
Thank you very much. Okay, because of time is running out, I will do 我们时间没有，所以我们就把接下来所有的一起问，好不好？ Okay, we do next category together on China and also to specific delegates. Okay, we have also from Radio Free Asia, Deutsch. Also, they're asking the time for EU to come up with some strategy to lower the risk of over-dependence on China. And also, they also have some questions about whether they support, I think they just answered that, of the Taiwan representative office in Europe or the Europe representative in Taiwan. Also from Da Jiyuan, we also have whether we recommend the US, EU, and Taiwan to establish like a regular systematic exchange platform. Also, we do together some of the Xintangren questions also addressed to EMP Margeta Voronova from Czech Republic. About the political party, your party just mentioned the term "One Taiwan Policy." That's a very interesting term. They would like you to further elaborate on that. Others are asking about the EU Indo-Pacific strategy. There are some naval bases of member states that have been active in the region. Whether, as the report, the EU-Taiwan relations and cooperation mentioned that whether recommendations from the report will be translated into incorporated as in law, and some form of the Taiwan Travel Act could be take a cake in the future. What would be your opinion on that and aspects or prospects of the possibilities of high-level exchanges between European Union and Taiwan? So, okay, a lot of questions, and we allowed our delegates to respond if they wish.
Yes, thank you very much for the possibility to explain this. Firstly, not to spread misinformation. This is a statement of myself, not of my party. So just to clarify that. As for one Taiwan policy, well, of course, it's a catchphrase to catch your attention and catch attention of everyone else, because it plays on the words with the use one China policy. But as has been already mentioned by Mr. Kirstos, it doesn't mean abolishment of the one China policy. It just means that until now, we looked at Taiwan through the lens of China. And I think it is due that we look at Taiwan as Taiwan and look at our future together between EU and Taiwan. And we should focus on what we want from each other, not what we want because there is China. You know? So that's what it means. And I do hope that this visit is first among many others, where will we clear our future together up.
Thank you very much. An excellent point. Okay, we need translation for that.
好的，非常感谢给我这个机会去说明这个议题。好的，首先呢，大家误会了，其实这并不是海盗党所提出来的一台政策，而是其实是议员本身所提出来的。那所谓一台政策会提出来，只是希望能够引起大家的注意，因为这是算是有点在玩弄一中政策，然后稍微去玩弄一下的文字，把中改成台。但是此举并不是要去否定或者是消灭掉一个中国政策，反而因为是要检讨我们过去一直都是透过中国的有色眼镜去看台湾。其实我们现在应该要去着重的点，就是欧盟跟台湾之间彼此可以给对方什么，可以彼此可以从对方取经什么，而不是说跟台湾要做任何事情，只是因为中国在那里，然后中国可能会有什么反应。
Thank you very much. I know the Honorable Petras Ostrovicius from Lithuania. He would like to respond.
Thank you again. I think it's important, to have a bit broader view on regional events as well. So we took a very comprehensive lesson from events in Hong Kong after takeover by PRC. And any silent appeasement to Beijing's policy it's like a repetition of former mistakes the world made long ago. I think we have to draw very right conclusions, what happened in Hong Kong, and now meeting those young legislators from Hong Kong who are now living in exile and listening to them, you feel what may happen if the totalitarian regime, which made so many crimes some time ago, and those crimes are crimes against humanity, again, is expand and impose. So that's why I think we shouldn't be childish in assessing the overall situation. And so this visit to Taiwan is a very timely one in order to send, again, the right message to all of us. On Indo-Pacific, indeed, the European Union is very seriously expanding its presence, cooperation, as well bilateral and regional relations with the Indo-Pacific. I think it's good for Indo-Pacific, it's good for the European Union, and we're looking forward for Taiwan taking part in the strategy, because from my point of view, Taiwan is a very strategic and serious contributor to the regional security and regional economic development. So I'm looking forward for our bilateral and regional cooperation in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was so inspiring, so important. We need translation for that. 家好 please.
我们不妨可以从这个地区的一些事件来作为一个观点去看待这件事情。首先，第一个就是我们从香港身上学到什么教训，尤其是在香港主权移交之后。那我们知道，从香港的例子，其实姑息北京的这么多的作为，其实是在助长这些加害者。那事实上，我也跟香港的立法会议员有很多对话，也倾听过他们的许多声音，从他们的意见当中了解，就是原来一个这样子的威权的体制、威权的政权，其实他们是真的会犯下许多反人类的这些罪行的。因此，当我们在检讨整体的状况的时候，我们不能够再这么的天真幼稚下去了。那此时刚好也是非常及时的，能够跟台湾有这样子的对话，然后向全世界发出这样子的一个讯号。那像我们的确，我们欧盟在印太地区也是有扩张更多的合作，还有更多的双边的深化双边的关系等等的，那这对印太地区、对欧盟地区都是两利的事情。那我也知道说，台湾基本上也是在印太战略上非常举足轻重的，因此我也非常乐见台湾能够加入欧盟的印太战略的环节当中。那因为我们知道台湾其实在这个环节当中是战略性的高度贡献者，而且是经济以及其他方面都是有高度贡献的，因此我非常期待跟台湾进一步的合作。
Thank you very much. I know the Honorable Mr. Georgios Kourtsos from Greece. You would like to say a few words?
Well, I just wanted to tell you that you shouldn't think of the European Union as practicing hard power in your wider region. Our strong points are economic cooperation and influencing through culture, through personal contacts between the peoples, etc. So our strong point is soft power. And even the United States that gave the security guarantee, they have a preference for other states as far as security is concerned in your wider region. So our naval presence, for instance, is symbolic. It has its significance, but it is not going to solve any problems as far as hard military power is concerned.
Thank you very much. Translation?
好的，其实有很多人认为，其实我们欧盟在印太地区是在投射我们的所谓的硬实力啊。那的确，我们本身也有经济方面的硬实力，但是其实我们欧盟真正的强项呢， 但是我们的真正的强项其实是软实力，包括我们自己的文化影响力，以及跟印太地区的民间交流。那我们也照向美国，他们本身其实对许多的盟友都有所谓的军事安全方面的保障。但是其实我觉得，其实这样子的军事保障，就以硬实力来讲，有它的限制在。那我们自己欧盟的会员国，的确在印太地区这个地区有很多的军舰。那我们本身的存在算是有蛮其重要性，但是本身也不会解决所有的硬实力的问题。喂，为什么只剩我的麦克风有用？
So for Mr. Chairman.
Actually, it's very good because it's the first small incident that we had during a perfect visit in Taiwan. So if it stays like that, it's absolutely extraordinary. And I really want to thank everybody in Taiwan for the hospitality. And I want to stress how much we are defining our policies once again, not against anybody, but in support of our friends and our principles. And this is key and central. And what it means for Taiwan is that in the coming months and in the coming years, you will have more and more high-level partnership with and cooperation with the EU. And we will make sure that this happens. So, you know, I really believe that we have a huge way to go to improve this relation. And you have managed to build such an impressive political system and democracy that what I discovered is that even democracy now is for you part of your identity as a people, Taiwanese people. They have democracy in their identity. And this is so much impressive for us. We will bring this back to Europe and we will make sure that this cooperation and this partnership is just growing. We are confronted with same threats. We are aiming at same goals, so there is no reason whatsoever why we should not walk the way together. So once again, you are not alone in this boat, we are with you, and that's the message that we will keep repeating days after days, months after months, so that everybody on earth, including not far from here, understands that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think microphone is back. Okay, incident resolved, and we have like a quick translation for maybe microphone for translator. Thank you so much.
好的，首先要非常谢谢台湾的大家对我们的热情款待，对这个代表团。那也要特别强调说，我们现在正在行诉我们的政策，这些政策并不是要反对谁，我们只是要支持我们的朋友以及支持我们的原则。这样的重点是我们的关键。是我们的核心，所以大家可以预期接下来的几个月甚至几年，会有越来越多的高层的伙伴们，还有更多跟欧盟之间高层的合作，而且我们回去之后一定会确保这些一定会发生，因为我们相信接下来台欧之间还有很长的一段路可以一起走下去。那台湾真的是建构了非常成功的政治体系，还有民主，而民主已经是台湾民族的自己的身份别当中的一个环节了，算是深植在我们台湾的 DNA 里面了。所以这真的是非常令人深刻、非常令人钦佩的。我们会把这样子令人钦佩的事情带回欧洲去，然后告诉他们，并且确保说我们未来会有更多的伙伴关系跟合作。我们基本上台湾跟欧洲基本上在走同一条路，往同一个方向走，那何不一起走呢？对不对？我们一定要重复的把这样子的讯号向全世界发送，直到全世界无论远近狭迩的所有的人都了解为止。
Thank you very much. I think time is up. They're super late for their next engagement, so we have a final like a group picture all together, and we conclude this wonderful international press. 谢谢，我们一起合照。
Yeah.
Thank you for interpretation.